All right, let's just dive right in. Week 14 of the NFL season, wow. It was an absolute roller coaster. We're talking playoff hopes made and broken, sometimes in the literal final seconds of the game. So let's get into it.
I mean, all across the country, you could just feel the playoff picture start to get a little clearer, right? And it was all shaped by these just breathtaking plays, some really heart-stopping mistakes, and games that, yeah, literally came down to the final tick of the clock.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about the offensive fireworks because, boy, there were a lot of them. And we're going to start in Tennessee, where the Titans running back Tony Pollard basically decided, you know what, I'll take matters into my own hands.
So, against the Browns, Pollard finds this tiny little seam and then just explodes through it for a massive game-breaking run. And look, this wasn't just another highlight for the reel. This is the kind of play that can single-handedly grab the momentum of a game and completely flip it. Yeah, 65 yards, a career-long run for him, and it didn't just flip the field position, It sent a message to the whole league. This was way more than just a big gain on the stat sheet. This was a pure statement of dominance. You can just feel the electricity of that play, right? And what made it all possible? Well, you got to look at the perfect downfield block from receiver Van Jefferson. That right there is the difference. That's how what should have been a routine 8-yard run turns into a game-changing 65-yard touchdown. But hey, it wasn't just the veterans making noise. The rookies were putting on an absolute show. We had rookie quarterbacks across the league with massive performances, but maybe none more impressive than the duel we saw between Cleveland's Shador Sanders and Denver's Bo Nix. And what's so cool is that these two rookies took totally different paths to get it done. You had Sanders, who was in this wild, gun-slinging thriller, just airing it out for over 350 yards and showing some incredible poise under pressure. Then on the other side, you had Bo Nix, who was just the definition of efficiency. He surgically picked apart the defense on that opening drive and then finished it with his legs to secure the win for the Broncos. But maybe the most breathtaking run of the entire day, that had to come from Buffalo's Josh Allen. I mean, this is why people say he's one of the most dynamic, must-see players in the entire league. Okay, picture this. It's snowing. He's playing the Bengals, and he just creates a lane where there was absolutely nothing. He takes off for a 40-yard touchdown, high-stepping through the defense like it's a practice drill. It was just a moment of pure, jaw-dropping athletic brilliance. He literally put the team on his back and carried them into the end zone. Now, it wasn't all about offense. For every one of these incredible scores, you better believe there was a game-changing defensive play right there to match it. And for a bunch of teams in Week 14, turnovers? Well, turnovers were the entire story. And this idea, the RPO, is really key to understanding our first big turnover. So get this. On the very first defensive snap of their game against the Colts, the Jaguars are facing an RPO and they turn it into a huge interception. Jaguars linebacker Devin Lloyd, he wasn't fooled for a second. He completely ignored the run fake, read the play perfectly, and just dropped right back into the passing lane. He picks off Daniel Jones and sets up a Jacksonville touchdown literally moments later. Talk about a massive momentum swing right out of the gate. Then you go over to Cleveland, and Devin Bush makes an almost identical play. It was uncanny. He's reading the quarterback's eyes the whole way. He jumps the route, makes the grab, and takes it all the way back for a Browns touchdown. These are the kinds of plays that are born from hours of film studies, sure, but also just pure, unadulterated instinct. And man, this next one is a perfect and painful example of how one tiny mistake can just completely undo an entire drive. The Bills are driving, they are inches away from taking the lead, but a desperate reach for the pylon ends in a fumble. And just like that, all the momentum swings right back to the Bengals. It's just a brutal reminder of how fast fortunes can change in this league. So with all this back and forth, it all set the stage for some incredibly tight finishes. I'm talking multiple games that weren't decided until the clock literally hit zero. And a thriller in Cleveland? I mean, the battle between the Titans and the Browns was a perfect example of this. It was just a complete seesaw affair that came right down to the wire, to the final 2 minutes. Those last 2 minutes were just absolutely frantic. So after a late touchdown pass from Sanders to Fannin, suddenly the Browns are faced with this massive, potentially game-altering decision. So what do? They decide to go for the tie right there with a trick play, a direct snap to the running back. But the defense? They weren't fooled at all. The pass was incomplete. It was a classic high-risk, high-reward call, and you can bet coaches and fans are going to be debating the analytics on that one all week long. Meanwhile, over in Chicago, the Packers' defense came up absolutely huge when it mattered most. You've got Caleb Williams driving the Bears down the field for what could be a game-winning score, but Tesson Mixon steps up, reads the play perfectly, and just ends the threat with a game-sealing interception. Clutch.
Okay, so what does this all mean? What's the big takeaway from this absolutely wild Sunday? Well, to put it simply, the playoff races in both conferences just got a major shakeup.
And probably the most significant shift of all came in the AFC South. With that big 36-19 victory over the Colts, the Jacksonville Jaguars now stand all alone in first place. They completely control their own destiny now. And those ripple effects, they were felt all across the league. The Packers, they now have a firm grip on their division. The Rams and the Bills, they both seriously bolstered their playoff chances. And those red-hot Broncos? Unbelievable. They've now won 10 straight games and find themselves sitting as the #1 seed in the entire AFC. Just incredible. Really, it was a Sunday that felt like a preview of the playoffs, didn't it? It was intense, it was physical, and it was completely unpredictable. And it leaves us with one big question as we head down the final stretch of the season. Thanks for joining the Six Plane.